reality, one God, one life, one way, one reality, one God, one life, one way, one reality, one God, one life, one way, one reality.
I call them prototypes of Jews, but they're not Jewish, right? We don't have a Jewish nation or a nation of Israelites until Mount Sinai. And so all these people leading up to this point in time, if we say non-Jews would have a place, not have a place in the world to come, then you dismiss all these people also. So obviously we got to say that non-Jews can have a place in the world to come, at least from a Torah and from a Judaism perspective. Okay? So, within brevity, he gives us 4 of the 7 laws of Noah. Now, and then the interesting part is, the next verse, verse 21, right? For Moses of old time hath in every city them that preach him, being read in the synagogues every Sabbath day. Okay? So here's a clue. The clue is, he clicks off 4 of the 7 laws. You non-Jews, you should go to the synagogue and learn more. Now, if non-Jews participate in the synagogue, there will be some that will fully convert.
That's true.
So he leaves that. He doesn't say that, what he doesn't say is, don't convert.
Right.
What he does say is, don't trouble them from among the Gentiles that have turned from idols to serve God. You don't trouble them. But if they go to the synagogue, right, which he directs them to go, he doesn't say go to the church or form some new religious service. Go to the synagogue. Why? Because Moses, the Torah, is being taught in the synagogue on every Sabbath day. So the Gentiles were to gradually infiltrate into the synagogues. And of course, as I said, that leaves the room open for some that would eventually become full converts.
Which is interesting because right there, you're actually pointing something else. And that is, the Gentiles were aware at the time of when the proper Sabbath was.
Yes, very, very aware of it.
You know? And they respected it.
All you had to do is hang around the synagogue and automatically knew, because that's when they were teaching on the Sabbath. Right?
So again, let's get biblical here.
Right.
Anybody who wants to, truly fulfill their obligation, if you're a Christian, and I'm saying this with love from someone who's not a Christian but follows Torah and agrees with what's being said here, that you need to go back, like Rabbi Emden says, to your original teachers. Because you not only learn about the 7 laws, but you're going to realize a whole bunch of other stuff.
In this text, by the way, which is an argument about, what do they do? What do we do? The one thing that's really interesting in is that it leaves things out. James doesn't say you have to believe in the virgin birth.
Nope.
He doesn't say that you have to believe that Jesus is God. He doesn't say none of that stuff.
Nope.
He gives you the bottom base line of how a non-Jew should act.
Yep.
If he rejects idolatry,
right,
and begins to follow this ancient path, I call it. It's not a new religion. He's not creating a new religion. It's an ancient path. And they know it's an ancient path that all non-Jews were to follow, which is known as the Sheva Mitzvot B'nai Noah, the 7 laws of Noah. And he just rehearses those. And he says, don't create a new church. Don't create a new religion. Go to the synagogues. You want to be taught, go to the synagogues. Go to your teachers. The people of Israel are a priesthood. God made them a priesthood. And as a priesthood, they are function as the teachers to the non-Jews. And so he directs them to go there. Of course, now in the process, as I said, he leaves it open that there might be some full conversions. And that's okay. We don't reject full conversions. If somebody is drawn with this great desire, we say, go for it.
Yeah, that you just reminded me of something else. The issue of converting here. It's not to Christianity.
No.
It's to Judaism.
Exactly.
Notice he's talking a Jew talking about non-Jews.
Exactly.
Converting to what? It was Judaism. There was no Christianity.
No Christianity.
So, again, another point that you see, if you pay attention to what's being said.
Well, a lot of times, and most people don't realize this, but to understand what the text doesn't say, sometimes will actually help you understand what it is saying. So, underlying is, he doesn't say you have to believe this, you don't have to believe that. Underlying is, you turn to God from serving idols, now keep the laws.
Yeah.
And if you want to know what the rest of the laws are, go to the synagogue and you'll get taught by the proper teachers, the proper teaching. And what he doesn't say is, he didn't say go to the apostles and don't go to Orthodox synagogues. He's telling you, go to an Orthodox synagogue. Go to one that knows what they're doing, what they're teaching, and they will teach you properly how to be an observant non-Jew. And if you want to go the full conversion route, then, if that's your desire and you can't be restrained from it, then that option is true too. And what we're told, by the way, we're told in verse 22 that it pleased all the apostles and elders and with this whole group of people to send chosen of their own company people out, and they sent letters, right? And they wrote exactly what the non-Jews were supposed to do. Now, this is what Emden is referring to in his letter when it says, return to your original teachers. Here is the original teaching of this Messianic group during this historical time. It's about 25 years, supposedly 25 to 30 years after this Messianic group actually gets up and running. And what are they teaching? We see what they're teaching the non-Jew. And we see what they are telling the non-Jew to do. And they're not saying create a new religion.
Nope.
They're saying, we want to tell you about this ancient path that's always been around for non-Jews.
Right.
It hasn't changed. And if you're going to be part of our Messianic movement as a non-Jew, you're going to comply with these simple laws.
Right.
Then we can actually have kind of communication. We can get along. Right? So it's an acceptance of the God of Israel. It's an acceptance of the Torah. And it's an acceptance of the people of Israel.
Yeah.
Right? No anti-Semitism. You can't be a follower of this group and hate anti-Semites because they're the ones that's telling you what to do. Right? Now, of course, we know later on there was another argument that arose. And it was basically between Paul and some of the elders back at Jerusalem again. You have this big conflict that's going on between these guys, and most people don't see this, but in Acts there's this constant conflict between different factions within this Messianic group. But the real leadership, the real original teachers that were in Jerusalem, the backbone of this movement, James and these other gentlemen, by the way, they knew exactly what to do and how to do it. And so they've already told the people what is the bare minimum. The bare minimum is follow this ancient path of the Sheva Mitzvot B'nai Noah. Now you can be part of our group. But the next thing is, where does he direct them to go to? To the synagogue. Right? So later on, we get this accusation that some people bring against Paul that he's teaching anti-Torah.
Yeah, I think that's Acts 21.
Acts 21.
Yeah.
So we'll skip forward just a little bit. We have this accusation that's brought by some that this guy is out and he's teaching anti-Torah, right? And eventually this guy has to be snuck into Jerusalem because there's some people who wants to kill him. They were a little religious,
A little zealot.
a little zealot. And if this guy's teaching anti-Torah, let's take him out, right? And so when he comes back and he sees James privately, it's a private confrontation supposedly, and he says,
James asks him, right?
Yes. Yeah. And the following day, he says, Paul went in unto James, with us unto James, and the elders were not present. So he has a private meeting with
the leader,
with the head, the chief rabbi at this time of this Messianic group. It'd be something like going and seeing the Rabbi, And he says, and when he had saluted them, he the custom and bow. He's submissive toward them, right?